What happens after we die? Is there a resting place for our souls somewhere beyond this earth?
I saw and experienced things beyond anything that I could ever have imagined.
Wayne Hart says there is. In fact, he says he's been there. In August of 1996, Hart was on death's door after being struck by a car while moving his disabled vehicle off a busy Spotsylvania County road. As doctors worked to save Hart's life,
I felt myself falling backwards into death. But then I felt myself turn, and it was like a cooling breeze on my face, and I saw that pinpoint of light. I was up in the corner of the emergency room, looking down at a very broken, bloody body laying on the gurney.
Yet Hart says there was no fear.
And then the most extraordinary thing happened. Behind that gurney, the wall of the emergency room dissolved away.
Beyond that wall, Hart says, was another realm.
There was a perfect sense of peace, of belonging, of being home. I sensed a presence around me, thought it was a presence that said, "You are going to go back."
On that day, Hart says he experienced something that thousands of others claim they have too, a near-death experience. Psychiatrist Dr. Bruce Grayson has been studying this phenomena for 30 years.
How many files would you say you have?
A little over 1,000.
Behind closed doors, Grayson and a small team of researchers at the University of Virginia are seeking the answer to a question that's baffled scientists and philosophers for thousands of years. Are the physical brain and conscious mind connected, or are they entirely separate, as near-death experiences might indicate?
These are not a sign of hallucination. They're not a sign that you're crazy. They happen to all sorts of people.
But not everyone is a believer.
What the skeptics fail to realize is that that realm is absolutely real.
Dr. Eben Alexander should know. He was one of them.
You were a man of science.
Very much so. I mean, for me, science was a pathway to truth.
Alexander, a renowned neurosurgeon, was living in Lynchburg with his family in 2006 when a rare and deadly form of meningitis infected his brain, sending him deep into a coma for 7 days.
Severe bacterial meningitis is the most perfect model of human death.
But even with no recognizable signs of brain activity, Alexander says he still experienced something profound.
But it was a very beautiful realm filled with flowers blossoming, these lovely colors and textures beyond description. Waterfalls, perfect little pools, where I was moving up through it as a speck of awareness on a butterfly wing with millions of other butterflies.
And by his side, Alexander says, a guardian angel.
She never spoke a word, but her message to me, very clear, thoughts coming straight into my mind. You are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. There's nothing you can do wrong in this realm. This greatly strengthened my faith in God.
But it was a revelation made 4 months after Alexander emerged from that coma that convinced him his experience was real.
I remember her face so perfectly.
For years, Alexander, who was adopted as a baby, had been trying to find his birth parents. When he finally met his biological family, they sent him a photo of his birth sister, a beautiful young woman who had died at the age of 37, just a few years prior. Alexander had never seen or met her, but when he looked at the picture, he instantly knew her. It was the guardian angel he had seen while in the coma.
There's no way my mind could have ever made that up. And that part was a tremendous revelation.
Hello, how are you?
The book he has written, Proof of Heaven, has been at the top of the New York Times bestsellers list for almost a year.
That severe meningitis that by all rights should have killed me.
Everywhere he speaks, hundreds show up to listen,
That has, I think, grabbed people's attention.
including those in the medical community,
Apparent contact with deceased loved ones,
like Grayson and his team in the Division of Perceptual Studies, who now have the grant money to attempt something never done before, to study near-death experiences as they occur in the hospital. They'll use computers to project random objects in the ER, OR, and other parts of the hospital, images that would be tough to see unless one was looking down from above.
we know that about 10% of people who have cardiac arrests will say that during the arrest they left their bodies, and many of them say that they were hovering above the bodies looking down on it.
What is happening in a person's body and brain at that exact moment?
It's called a flying dragon.
And how does the experience change them?
Everything changed. I was a completely different person.
Wayne Hart says he has a new outlook on life, a life with much simpler pleasures.
My personal definition of the word God is everything. That spirit is there. It's always there.
While science may never have all the answers, Hart says there's faith. Faith that beyond this world, something extraordinary awaits.
And that makes us very powerful and important beings.